What you say to a real estate agent could end up costing you thousands, or worse, that house that you're trying to buy. And over the last decade plus, I've watched buyers sabotage their own deals with one wrong sentence. Don't let that be you. In this video, I'm gonna show you the 7 things you should never tell a real estate agent, sometimes even your own.
Wait, what?
I'm going to show you how that gets used against you and what to say instead. That way you'll never get played. Let's get into it. Now, before we get into the list, I think it's really important to say that I'm not making this video to try and bash on other agents. For the record, I think there are plenty of really great agents out there who genuinely care about their clients' best interests and do a really great job. Do I think there's some agents out there that don't belong in real estate? Absolutely. But you could say that about any business out there. No, the reason I'm making this video is because you wouldn't believe some of the things other agents tell me about their clients that completely compromises their client's negotiating position. And I really don't want that for you, because when it comes to buying and selling houses, for most people, this is the biggest financial decision you'll ever make. So I'm not making this video for other agents. I'm making it for you so you don't unintentionally compromise your position. Have you ever said anything to your agent that you instantly regretted? Let me know in the comments. Now, the first mistake we're going to talk about has to do with overshowing your hand. If you play poker, you're going to understand exactly what that means. What I'm talking about has to do with a pre-approval letter or proof of funds if you're paying cash. Let's say hypothetically you're qualified up to $750,000 on that pre-approval letter, but you tell your agent,
we don't want to spend more than $650,000 on a house.
So what's the problem? Well, in some cases, that ceiling becomes the new floor because your agent can see what you could potentially extend to. So how you would see this happening if you have the wrong agent is you're going to see that instead of showing you houses that are up to that 650, they're going to be pushing the houses that they show you a little bit higher and higher and higher. Well, most of our compensation is percentage based, and the more expensive the house, the bigger the compensation. Now, I would argue and say that most agents don't think like this, but some do. So it's definitely something that you need to watch out for. Now, something else that could happen as the listing agent, I get the offer. My house is on the market for $650. You're potentially offering $625 on that house. If it's my listing, please offer $650. But hypothetically, you're offering $625 in this market. The pre-approval letter shows $750. The agent will say something usually like, you know, my client is super well qualified for this. They're qualified up to $750. The house is only $650. You can see that we're really strong financially. But what's the seller's perspective? When we're looking at it from the seller's side, is we're seeing resources. We're going to negotiate a little bit differently when we know that the buyer has resources compared to when we think that that's the very max that they might have. There might be less play on price, less concessions negotiated, and ultimately the buyer is getting a slightly worse deal than they otherwise might have gotten by showing that they're qualified at the price of the house that they're offering. So what do? Ask your lender to supply you with a couple of different pre-approval letters. If you're working with cash, don't just use a bank statement that has unlimited dollars in that account. Make sure that you're having a letter provided by your financial institution that confirms that you have X amount of dollars in that account to cover the sale at the price that you're offering, and have a couple of those different letters. That way you're able to use the right letter for the right offer. Now, should you tell your agent that you're qualified for a lot more? I think that depends on the level of trust that you've built with that specific agent. In some cases, it makes absolute sense to understand what somebody can potentially stretch for under the right circumstances. If we're finding the right houses, then we're good. If we're not, we're having a conversation about changing some kind of criteria, whether it's characteristics about the house, location, or potential price. But that's a conversation that we have together. It's a partnership. Now, this next mistake is a sign of the time. And I grew up in a time where the saying, smile, you're on candid camera, was actually a very popular saying. And if you get that reference, great. If not, I'm showing my age a little bit, but that's okay. When you visit a property today, you have to assume that everything you say and do is being recorded. From the moment you pull up to a property, you've got Ring doorbells, Nest, whatever other video Ring doorbell system somebody has. A lot of people don't realize that when you're standing there, it's not just recording video, but it's recording audio as well. People have cameras around the house, on the garages. Younger families with young children have cameras inside the house to monitor their kids. You're inside the house, you're gushing about how much you love everything about this house. Maybe you're nitpicking a couple things because there are a couple of things that you don't love about the house. Maybe you discuss pricing strategy with your agent. All of that is potentially recorded and captured by the seller. What do you think they're going to do? Well, they're going to listen to it. And then what they're going to do is they're going to pick up the phone and call their listing agent and tell them about it. Anything you say or do can be used against you in negotiating. There are plenty of stories in our industry about information being shared on camera that comes back to haunt the buyer. Keep your thoughts to yourself. Talk about the house after you've left the house in the car, especially when it comes to offer strategy and pricing. Now we're going to move on to our third point, and it's one that can really hurt you negotiating. I still think that the seventh point I'm going to talk about in just a little bit is going to blow your mind, but number 3 is a doozy as well. By the way, like, subscribe, and share if you're enjoying this video so far. So number 3 has to do with revealing time sensitivities. And it sounds something like, we need to be moved before school starts. We have a new job starting and we've got to be moved before this date. Our lease is up and we've got to find a new place before we get kicked out of our apartments. And time pressure can be used against you. What you just told your agent is that you're on the clock. And even good agents might sometimes use that information to nudge you towards a house that might not necessarily be ideal, because they're trying to help you get into a house to meet that time obligation that you've got, when it might be better to figure out a plan B to wait for the right house. Now, if a listing agent gets a hold of that, now you've got your back up against the wall, because if you've also expressed that you like a house, an agent knows that you're not going to have time to go back to market and start this whole process over again. Your typical transaction takes 30 days to close. No, instead, a better way is to simply say, our preference is to be in by a certain amount of time, but we're flexible and we're focused on finding the right house. Buyers who control the pace control the deal. From a buyer's agent perspective, we use that against the seller as well, because when I'm calling the listing agent to find out what the seller's preferred timeline is, if I find out that the seller needs to get gone by a certain date, we definitely use that to our advantage as well, because especially in this market, seller's not going to want to have to go back to market and wait for the next buyer. That can be a very long time from now. So it works both ways. Now, this next mistake happens when your agent isn't even there to protect you. What am I talking about? I'm talking about open houses, builder model homes, that sort of thing. So it happens when you overshare when talking to other agents. So it's a nice Sunday afternoon, you're done doing whatever you're doing, and it's time to go look at houses. You're not scheduled to go look at houses with your agent. You're like, we're going to go look at open houses so that we don't waste your time. So you walk into the open house, you actually happen to really like this house. Agent sitting in that house, they don't represent you. Remember, they represent the seller. More often than not, there are exceptions. Sometimes agents hold houses open that are looking for buyer leads and they're not the listing agent. Like in a new construction neighborhood, for example, 100% of the time, the person in that house represents the builder. So again, this industry, real estate, tends to attract very conversational and chatty people. So you start a conversation, talk a little bit about the house, find out that you love the house, you love the area, you need to move quick because school's about to start. Oh, you're qualified for way more than the house is worth. You're basically giving away the farm. All of that, when it's time to make an offer, will be used against you by the listing agent. So am I a fan of people going to open houses? Go to them, make sure your agent understands, make sure that you're letting the other agent know that you're represented when you do have your own agent. But just be careful about what you're saying. Don't share more than what you need to. We're just looking at options in the area, and you don't share anything about timeline, motivation, what you're willing to pay, or anything like that. Best of all, if that's a house you really want to see, go and see it with your agent, because you'll probably want your agent's perspective on that house anyways. Comment guilty if you've ever overshared at an open house. I'm curious. Now, this next point is a little bit of a touchy subject, and it has to do with dual agency. So you don't actually have your own agent on the onset. Let's say you're doing a lot of the work yourself. You're finding houses online, you're contacting the listing agents, and you want to make an offer on the house. You say, well, why don't you represent me? Well, that agent is already representing the seller. Georgia happens to be one of the states where dual agency is still allowed. I don't know why. I personally think it's a huge conflict of interest. An agent's being hired to get their client the best possible deal. For the seller, it's the most money for the house. For the buyer, it's the least amount of money for a house. Those things don't jive. In dual agency, you have to be perfectly neutral with all parties. Now, you can't just sneak dual agency on a transaction. All parties have to be aware to it. It has to be disclosed and they have to agree to it in writing. But why would you want to give away your advantage in a transaction? Now, what happens more frequently is that that buyer is going to be unrepresented. Now, I'm fully expecting to read in the comments about people who have bought and sold houses over the years successfully without agents. They don't feel that they need an agent. Congratulations if that's you. It's definitely not most people. What's most likely to happen in this scenario is that the buyer is going to be unrepresented, which is great for the listing agent because they're going to double up on compensation. And then two, generally speaking, you've got a trained negotiator versus one who is not, and it's going to end up favoring the seller. And if you choose to go at it alone, hey, that's more power to you. Just be very careful about what you volunteer to the agent who's representing the seller's interests. Moving on to mistake number 6, it's short and sweet, but equally important. If you're serious about buying a house, never tell your own agent that you're just looking and that you'll buy the right house if you happen to find the perfect house. What happens when you do that is you go from the very top of their priority list to the very, very bottom. And if you're actually in the market to purchase something, now you're not going to get the personalized service or attention that you're hoping for. I think this is what happens when we hear of buyers that say that they're working with multiple agents and whoever brings them the house first is who they're going to work with. If you want to find the right house, what you need to do is you need to tell your agent, look, I'm worried about you showing me houses that are not going to resonate. How can we work together to make sure that what you are showing me is hitting on what I'm actually interested in? And what a good agent is going to do, they're going to sit down for a consultation and do a thorough needs analysis to properly understand what you need and what you want. And they're going to be better able to guide you through the process. So if you want to be a priority, definitely don't tell your agent that you're just looking. And that brings me into the biggest mistake on this list, and it's blindly trusting your agent. And it sounds a little bit something like this. You're the pro. I trust you completely. Do what you think is best. What? No. Definitely the wrong thing to say. Why? Because you should never blindly trust anyone, let alone your agent. Now that happened to me this week, as a matter of fact. I love these clients, but they said that when we were ready to make an offer, just put whatever you think we need to in the offer for us to win this house. And my response to them was, look, I truly appreciate that you have confidence in my ability to get you a positive outcome. That's certainly what we're striving towards, but I need you to understand what you're signing. This is an active partnership. Trust, but verify. So we looked at the contract together. We went over the terms together. We discussed offer strategies and potential contingencies and things, potential outcomes, counteroffers, how that would all look like. We both got on the same page and we ended up winning the deal and going under contract at a great price. My client felt more comfortable moving forward after that because now they have the confidence of knowing that I actually do have their back. And there are plenty of great agents out there that will have your back. It's okay to trust, but you've got to verify. Now, this is really important because the wrong person could absolutely take advantage of you. Blindly trusting in somebody else to get you the best possible deal without understanding the terms of the deal or the strategy being used or any of that is a recipe for disaster. How many path of least resistance people do you know? How many people are always looking for the easy way out? If you have the wrong person working for you and they know that you're going to blindly go along with whatever they say and there's not going to be any pushback or verification, what incentive do they have to get you the best possible deal? Their commission is a percentage of what the sales price is going to be. Wouldn't it be easier for that person to find out what the seller would accept and come back with those terms and say, well, this is the best that you can do. You're getting the house for a great price, when in reality, had you negotiated and pushed harder, you could have gotten a better deal on that house. Make no mistake, most agents are ethical people who do the right thing. I'm talking about working with the wrong person. I always say it's better to be an active participant in your own transaction than a passive passenger. Do that and you'll make sure that your interests are well taken care of. Here's what I ultimately want you to remember. Being strategic with information isn't about undermining your relationship with your agent. It's about becoming a better partner in your own transaction. Saying the wrong thing can cost you thousands. Expensive mistakes. For more expensive mistakes you can avoid, you'll definitely want to watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you on the next one.